The handcuffs snapped shut, biting into my wrists as the Alabama asphalt scorched my knees. I, Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison, a 54-year-old black man with 3 stars earned through decades of Army service, was face down on Route 82 in Macon County, 70 miles from Montgomery, my hometown. A white officer, Sheila Vaughn, loomed over me, her voice dripping venom. "Don't move, General." The word was a sneer, her disbelief a blade. I'd been driving to see my sister, Clara, battling cancer, when Vaughn's cruiser flashed its lights. Now, my military ID lay tossed in the dirt, and a bystander's phone captured my humiliation, the video already sparking fury online. My heart pounded, not with fear, but with a rage I hadn't felt since I was 12, watching police drag my uncle from our car for looking wrong. I whispered his old protest song, "Ain't Gonna Let Injustice Turn Me Around," to keep from breaking. This wasn't just about me, it was every black soul who'd faced a badge's wrath. How did I, a Pentagon strategist, end up here, betrayed by the country I'd sworn to protect? Born in Montgomery in 1971, I grew up in a city still raw from civil rights battles. My uncle, a bus boycott organizer, taught me pride, my mother, a seamstress, taught me patience. At 18, I entered West Point, one of 20 black men in a class of 1,400, where cadets muttered I was an affirmative action pick. I proved them wrong, graduating first in tactics, later saving 500 troops in Iraq with a daring supply route plan. Now, I led counterterrorism at the Pentagon, my council shaping global ops. But on Route 82, none of that mattered. Vaughn, 42, had stopped me, claiming I'd swerved. I hadn't, my driving was as precise as my battle plans, but her eyes, cold behind sunglasses, saw only my skin and my sleek BMW's DC plates. "License," she barked, ignoring my calm explanation. "I'm Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison, on emergency leave for family." When I handed over my ID, she tossed it aside, ordering me out. "You're acting shifty," she said, a lie so bold it stunned me. I complied, hands visible, but she cuffed me anyway, the metal too tight, her grip bruising my arm. A crowd gathered, truckers, teens, an old man shaking his head, their phones recording what felt like my uncle's story reborn. Vaughn's cruelty wasn't random. I learned later she'd grown up in Macon County's fading mill towns, her father a laid-off worker who blamed outsiders for his woes. Her 15-year policing career was littered with complaints. Black drivers stopped 45% of the time, though they were 18% of the county's drivers, cars searched without cause, a Latino family detained over a cracked taillight. Her personnel file, buried by a lax Chief Daniel Holt, showed warnings ignored. That morning, Vaughn's journal, later seized, revealed her mood. "Sick of these city types thinking they own our roads." I was her target, a chance to assert power. In the patrol car, heat choked me, Vaughn's air conditioning a privilege she kept. She radioed dispatch, claiming I was resisting another fabrication. My request to call my command was met with a laugh. "Pentagon. Save it for the station, hotshot." Her taunt cut deep, but I focused, noting her badge number, the time, 1:45 p.m., and the mile marker. My uncle's voice echoed. "They can't take your mind." I wasn't just a soldier, I was a strategist, and this was a battlefield. At the Macon County Station, a dingy hub of flickering lights, Sergeant Clara Boone processed me. Her eyes widened at my pressed suit and steady gaze. "He claims he's a general," Vaughn scoffed, slamming my ID on the desk. Boone, a black woman in her 30s, hesitated, reading my credentials. "Military?" she asked, voice soft. "Yes, ma'am." "Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison, Pentagon." I've complied fully, but Officer Vaughn stopped me without cause. Boone's jaw tightened, she ordered Vaughn to uncuff me. Vaughn's face flushed, but she obeyed, the cuffs leaving welts. Boone whispered, "I'm sorry," her eyes hinting at her own battles in this department. Vaughn's rage simmered, she saw Boone's empathy as betrayal. I sensed her unraveling, a woman whose power came from fear, now facing a foe she couldn't intimidate. In a cramped office, Boone handed me a phone. My fingers, sore but steady, dialed the Pentagon's emergency line. "Authorization Ellison Delta 628 Foxtrot," I said. The duty officer's tone shifted. "General, what's the situation?" I briefed him: unlawful detention, likely bias, urgent family leave. Colonel Javier Torres, a JAG officer, was dispatched from Fort Benning, 80 minutes by chopper. Outside, Vaughn argued with Boone, her voice shrill: "He's faking it." But the video, now at 3 million views, told the truth. X posts from 22 to 44-year-olds screamed, #FreeEllison. A local choir, Voices of Macon, gathered roadside, singing protest hymns, their live stream rallying thousands. My chest swelled, not just for me, but for them, for Clara, for every soul this system tried to crush. I straightened, ready to fight, knowing one call had lit a fuse that Vaughn couldn't snuff out. I sat in the Macon County Station's private office, the phone still warm from my Pentagon call, my wrists throbbing from Sheila Vaughn's handcuffs. The viral video of my detention was spreading like wildfire, but as I waited for Colonel Torres to arrive, my mind drifted to Vaughn, not just her actions, but the why behind them. Her sneer, her quickness to cuff me, wasn't just personal, it was a symptom of something deeper, rooted in the soil of this county and her own fractured life. I'd faced enemies in Iraq and Syria, but Vaughn was different, a foe shaped by a world I needed to understand to fight. She wasn't a monster, but a woman molded by resentment, and her story, I sensed, held the key to unraveling the bias that had brought me to my knees on Route 82. Sheila Vaughn, 42, hadn't always been the officer who saw my BMW and black skin as a threat. Born in Tuskegee, 20 miles from Macon County, she grew up in a trailer park where the American dream felt like a taunt. Her father, a mill worker, lost his job in the 90s when factories shuttered, blaming city folks and newcomers for stealing opportunities. Her mother, a part-time cashier, kept quiet, but Sheila absorbed the bitterness at their kitchen table, where talk of how things used to be carried a coded nostalgia for segregation's shadow. As a teenager, she dreamed of escaping to Atlanta, maybe becoming a nurse, but poor grades and a quick marriage at 19 to a mechanic trapped her. The marriage crumbled after 4 years, leaving her with debt and a daughter who now lived with her ex in Birmingham, barely answering Sheila's calls. For 22 to 44-year-olds who felt life's weight, Sheila's story hits hard, not to excuse, but to reveal how personal failure can twist into prejudice. Sheila joined the Macon County Police at 27, scraping through the academy with minimal training, drawn to the badge's authority. It gave her what life hadn't: control. In a county of 28,000 to 65% white. Her department was stretched thin, 16 officers covering 600 square miles. Chief Daniel Holt, a good OL boy nearing 65, ran a department where tough policing was code for unchecked power. Sheila's record was a patchwork of complaints: a black couple detained for a suspicious rental car, a Native American woman's car searched over a broken blinker, a black teen cited for loitering at a gas station. Data, later uncovered, showed Sheila stopped black drivers 48% of the time, though they were 18% of the county's drivers, and searched their vehicles 75% of the time, compared to 12% for whites. Yet, Holt dismissed complaints, calling them oversensitive. Sheila's personnel file was a vault of ignored red flags, her bias a silent partner in every patrol. Her journal, a spiral notebook she kept in her cruiser, was her confession. Entries, later read in court, seethed. "These out-of-towners with their slick cars think they can disrespect us." Another, from the day before my stop, "Counsel's got a new black guy asking about my stats. I'm just keeping order." I wasn't just a driver to her, I was a symbol of everything she felt slipping away. That morning, Sheila woke to a leaking roof and a $500 utility bill she couldn't pay. Her daughter had texted, "Stop calling, Mom, a sting that lingered. At roll call, Holt warned her about patterns in her stops, nudged by a new council member, a black lawyer from Montgomery. Sheila's journal entry raged, "They're turning this place upside down, and I'm the scapegoat." When she saw my BMW, its DC plates gleaming, her frustration found a target. It wasn't conscious hate, but a reflex. My success, my calm, my blackness challenged her fragile sense of power. She didn't see a general, she saw a threat to her world. As I sat in that office, I imagined her now, pacing the station's break room, her swagger fading as Sergeant Clara Boone's quiet defiance and my Pentagon call appended her narrative. Clara, I'd noticed, carried a different weight, her dark eyes held the strain of navigating a department where she was one of two black officers. Later, I'd learned she'd faced Vaughn's subtle jabs, like being passed over for a promotion despite top scores. Clara's empathy when she uncuffed me wasn't just kindness. It was resistance, a choice to stand against the tide Vaughn rode. Sheila's cruelty wasn't isolated, it thrived in Macon County's silence. The department's culture, Holt's lax oversight, let bias fester. A black barber, stopped 3 times in a year, never filed a complaint, fearing retaliation. A Latino teacher, searched for, acting nervous, moved away. These stories, whispered in barbershops and churches, were the county's open secret, but no one with my rank had ever been targeted. My stop was a spark, the video a flame, and Sheila was now cornered. Her journal, I'd learn, held a plea, "I just want respect." But respect, she thought, came from fear, not fairness. For 22 to 44-year-olds who've seen bias exposed on X, Sheila's story is a gut check, anger at her actions, unease at her humanity. She wasn't a cartoon villain, but a woman whose pain fueled harm, a mirror for the biases we all carry. As I waited, a new sound reached me, voices outside, singing. The voices of Macon Choir, I'd later discover, had grown from a roadside vigil to a full protest, their hymns echoing the Montgomery bus boycott. They sang, "This Little Light of Mine," a song my uncle taught me, and I felt tears prick my eyes. Not for me, but for them, for Clara, for the barber, for every soul Sheila's badge had diminished. Sheila, in the break room, must have heard it too. Did it stir guilt, or just defiance? Her world was cracking. Holt was on his way, the video hit 4 million views, and my chopper was 30 minutes out. I thought of my sister, Clara, her cancer fight, and how I'd promised to hold her hand. This fight, though, was bigger. Sheila's bias wasn't just hers, it was Macon County's, America's, and I was no longer just a general, I was a soldier in a war for justice. My uncle's song steadied me, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round." Sheila Vaughn had started this, but I'd finish it, not with rage, but with the truth she couldn't bury. The Macon County Station's office smelled of stale coffee, but the air crackled with tension as I, Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison, stood by the desk, my wrists still raw from Sheila Vaughn's handcuffs. My call to the Pentagon had set wheels in motion. Colonel Javier Torres was en route from Fort Benning, his Black Hawk slicing through Alabama skies, but the fight was far from over. Outside, the voices of Macon Choir's hymns grew louder, their protest swelling as the bystanders' video of my detention hit 5 million views on X. I felt their strength, a chorus echoing my uncle's 1960s marches, but also the weight of why this was happening, my black skin, my DC plates, my 3 stars that Sheila Vaughn refused to see. Her bias had sparked this fire, but the flames were now beyond her control, fueled by a community tired of silence and a nation watching. As I waited, I thought of my sister, Clara, her cancer battle raging in Montgomery, and how I'd promised to be there. This detour, though, was a mission I couldn't abandon, not just for me, but for every soul Vaughn had targeted. The station buzzed with unease, officers glanced at me, their whispers a mix of curiosity and fear. Sergeant Clara Boone, who'd uncuffed me with a whispered apology, hovered nearby, her dark eyes scanning the room. She was a lifeline, her quiet defiance a shield against Vaughn's venom. Vaughn herself was in the break room, her swagger gone, replaced by a nervous pacing I glimpsed through the glass door. Her world was unraveling, and I wondered if she felt the choir's songs like a judgment. The door burst open, and Chief Daniel Holt stormed in, his uniform rumpled, face flushed from a rushed drive. At 65, he carried the weariness of a man who'd coasted too long, letting officers like Vaughn run unchecked. "General Ellison," he said, extending a sweaty hand, "this is a misunderstanding. My deepest apologies." His words were hollow, a politician's dodge, but his eyes betrayed panic. The video, now trending with #FreeEllison, had drawn news vans from Birmingham and Atlanta, their cameras circling the station like hawks. I shook his hand, my voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath. "Chief Holt, I was detained without cause, cuffed, and humiliated. This isn't a misunderstanding. It's a failure of your department." His jaw twitched, but before he could respond, Clara Boone stepped forward, holding my Pentagon credentials. "Sir, his ID checks out. We need to release him fully." Her tone was firm, a challenge to Holt's authority, and I saw Vaughn's shadow in the break room stiffen, her resentment now aimed at Clara too. The choir outside swelled, their voices weaving, "Lift every voice and sing," into the humid air, and I learned later that Voices of Macon had organized a flash protest, live-streamed on X. Teens, elders, even a local pastor, held signs, "No more stops, no more lies." A new element emerged, a community art project, where kids painted a mural on butcher paper, depicting handcuffs breaking under a rising sun. It was their defiance, their hope, and it hit me like a wave. This wasn't just my fight, but theirs, a generation of 22 to 44-year-olds refusing to let history repeat. Their ex-posts flooded my phone, forwarded by a Pentagon aide, a general in cuffs. "This is America's shame. #Justice for Ellison." The video's virality was a weapon, exposing Vaughn's racism to millions who might have ignored a lesser name. I felt pride, but also a sting. Why did my stars make this news, when others suffered in silence? Vaughn re-entered, her face a mask of defiance. "Chief, his registration didn't match," she insisted, clutching a notepad, her fabricated excuse. Holt waved her off, but her eyes locked on mine, a mix of fear and fury. I saw her then, not as a cop, but as a woman cornered by her own choices, her bias a cage she'd built. Clara Boone, sensing the lie, handed Holt a report. "No mismatch, sir. His papers are clean." Vaughn's notepad trembled, her journal, I'd learn later, held a frantic entry from that moment, "They're all against me now." Holt's failure to rein her in years ago, ignoring complaints from black drivers, had led here, and he knew it. I spoke, my voice cutting through the chaos, "I need my belongings, and I'm notifying you, per protocol, that the Pentagon is handling this." Holt nodded, sweat dripping, as Clara retrieved my badge and wallet. The station's radio crackled, "Chopper ETA 5 minutes. Colonel Javier Torres landed at the county airfield, his JAG team, a lawyer and a communications specialist. Storming in with military precision. Torres, 45, with a no-nonsense gaze, shook my hand. "General, we're taking over. Your vehicle's being released." He turned to Holt, demanding dash cam footage, radio logs, and Vaughn's personnel file. Holt, outranked in protocol if not badge, complied, his authority shrinking. Torres's team found Vaughn's journal in her cruiser, its pages a diary of prejudice, one entry circling my stop, "Fancy car, thinks he's above us all." It was evidence, raw and damning, that would bury her. I watched Vaughn through the glass, her pacing stopped, now slumped, the weight of her words catching up. For 22 to 44-year-olds, this is electrifying, her downfall is justice, but her humanity complicates the victory. Clara Boone's role grew clearer. She'd been mentoring young black officers, teaching them to navigate Macon's biases, her own promotion delayed by Holt's favoritism. Her stand now, backing me, challenging Vaughn. Was a risk, but her eyes held a fire I recognized from my uncle's marches. She slipped me a note, stay strong. We're changing this, the choir's protest, now 300 strong, added a drumline, their rhythm pulsing through the station's walls. A teen artist, Maya, 17, posted the mural online, captioned, "For General Ellison, for us all." It hit 1 million likes, a beacon for young activists who saw themselves in this fight. I thought of Clara, my sister, her frail smile, and how this battle honored her too. But the stakes were rising, Holt's department was exposed, and the governor's office called, rattled by national headlines. CNN aired the video, pundits quoting my words, "A failure of your department." I wasn't free yet, my BMW waited, but Vaughn's bias, and the system that nurtured it, still stood. As Torres briefed me, I heard the choir's final hymn, "We Shall Overcome," and felt a surge of hope. This was no longer just a stop, it was a movement, and I was its soldier, ready to march on. The Macon County Station's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as I, Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison, stood with Colonel Javier Torres, my BMW keys returned, my dignity bruised but unbroken. The voices of Macon choir's protest had faded, but their mural, handcuffs snapping under a rising sun, burned in my mind, a symbol of a community refusing to bow. Sheila Vaughn's journal, its pages of prejudice now in Torres's hands, had sealed her fate, but this wasn't just about her. It was about a system that let her thrive, a county that looked away, and a nation watching my handcuffed image, now at 7 million views on X, demanding change. I thought of my sister, Clara, her cancer fight waiting in Montgomery, but also of my uncle's marches, his belief that justice wasn't won with anger but with action. As Torres briefed Chief Daniel Holt on federal oversight, I felt a shift, not just in this room, but in me. I wasn't just a general. I was a catalyst, and this fight was reshaping Macon County, Alabama, and beyond. Sheila Vaughn's downfall was swift, but it cut deeper than I expected. Her termination hearing, held in a county boardroom a week later, was a spectacle of unraveling. Torres presented her journal, "City types like him need to learn," she'd written about me, her words a confession of bias. Dashcam footage showed her fabricating my shifty behavior and texts to a colleague. "Got another one who thinks he's big time," buried her defense. Her lawyer argued stress, but the panel, pressured by national scrutiny, fired her unanimously. In court, facing civil rights charges, Sheila broke, her voice trembling, "I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was just lost." Her 20-month sentence felt like justice, yet her tears stirred unease in me. She wasn't evil, just broken, her prejudice a product of a life I'd never lived. For 22 to 44-year-olds on X, her fall was a victory, but her humanity, those tears, asked them to wrestle with forgiveness. Macon County's police department couldn't hide anymore. Chief Holt, his career tarnished, announced reforms under a federal microscope. Body cameras, mandatory on every shift, uploaded footage to a public portal, a first for rural Alabama. Bias training, crafted by Tuskegee University scholars, forced officers to confront their blind spots. A community oversight board. Half black, half women, including a pastor and a teacher, gained power to review complaints, a move Holt once called unnecessary. Alabama's Justice Transparency Act, rushed through the legislature, mandated stop data statewide, revealing Macon's black drivers were stopped 5 times more than whites. Sergeant Clara Boone, now promoted to lieutenant, led the training, her voice steady as she shared her own story, passed over for years, mocked by Vaughn's clique. Her courage, I learned, inspired a young black officer to stay, his resignation letter torn up after her speech. Clara's rise was a beacon, and when she emailed me, "We're building something new, General," I felt pride, not for myself, but for her, for Macon. My role grew beyond that roadside stop. In Montgomery, I testified at Vaughn's trial, not for vengeance but for truth. "This isn't about one officer," I said, facing a packed courtroom, cameras rolling. It's about systems that fail until someone like me, with stars, gets cuffed. My words, clipped for X, sparked debates. Why did rank matter? The Ellison directives, new Army protocols for civilian police encounters, spread to federal agencies, requiring officers to verify military IDs on site. I launched Freedom's Road, a video series on YouTube, interviewing bias survivors. A nurse stopped in Selma, a student searched in Mobile. Each story, viewed by millions, gave 22 to 44-year-olds a mirror to their own lives, their comments flooding in. This happened to my cousin. Keep speaking, General. A new initiative, the Macon Unity Lab, emerged from the choir's protest. Teens like Maya, the mural artist, ran workshops, teaching kids to document stops with phone apps, empowering a generation to fight back legally. Their first app, Safe Pass, hit 50,000 downloads, a tool I wished I'd had on Route 82. The lab's town halls, live-streamed, drew thousands, with elders sharing 1960s stories and youth pledging reform. It wasn't just talk. When a black council member proposed funding, Macon's voters, stirred by the mural's image, approved it. Sheila's prison cell, I imagined, was a far cry from her cruiser's control. Her sentence began in a low-security facility, but her real punishment was isolation, friends gone, daughter silent, her badge a memory. Yet, in a restorative justice program, she faced survivors, their stories cracking her denial. A letter she wrote me, intercepted by Torres, read, "I saw you as a threat, not a person. I'm learning." I didn't reply, but her words lingered, a seed of change I couldn't dismiss. For the audience, this is complex, anger at her crimes, hope in her awakening. Clara Boone's story, though, was the heart of Macon's shift. She'd started a mentorship for black youth, pairing them with officers to rebuild trust. At one session, a teen asked her, "Why stay when they hurt you?" Clara's answer, "Because change starts inside," went viral, a clip shared by ex-users who saw her as Macon's future. Holt, facing retirement, admitted fault in a public apology, his voice breaking, "I let this happen." His candor, rare for a chief, fueled reform, but also questions. Could he have stopped Vaughn sooner? The Unity Lab's first project, a digital archive of Macon's untold stops, gave voice to the voiceless, a barber, a teacher, a grandmother, their stories now searchable. I contributed my own, a raw 10-minute video, my voice catching as I described the cuffs, the heat, the choir's hymns. It hit 2 million views, with comments from 22 to 44-year-olds, "You gave us strength. This is why we fight." My sister, Clara, watched from her hospital bed, her smile weak but fierce. "You're carrying Uncle's torch," she whispered. I thought of her, of Maya, of the lab's teens, and felt a fire no handcuffs could douse. But Vaughn's shadow lingered, her bias was gone, but the system's roots ran deep. As I drove to Montgomery, my BMW humming, I passed Route 82's mile marker, now marked by a Unity Lab sign, "Justice starts here." The governor called, wanting a meeting, the White House watched. This wasn't over. My stars had opened a door, but the fight was for everyone, and I'd march on, my uncle's song in my heart. A year after Sheila Vaughn's handcuffs left welts on my wrists, Lieutenant General Marcus Ellison stood before the Clara Ellison Community Justice Hub in Macon County, Alabama, its glass walls gleaming under a September sun. Named for my sister, Clara, who'd lost her battle with cancer, the hub replaced the old police station, a symbol of a county reborn. Hundreds gathered, black, white, young, old. Their faces alight with a hope I hadn't dared dream of when I knelt on Route 82's scorching asphalt. The voices of Macon Choir, whose hymns had carried me through that day, sang, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round," and I felt my uncle's 1960s marches pulse in their voices. This hub, with its mental health clinics, mediation rooms, and reformed police wing, was Clara's legacy, Macon's redemption, and a testament to a fight bigger than me. But as I scanned the crowd, my eyes caught Sheila Vaughn, a shadow at the edge, her presence a quiet jolt. Her journey, like mine, had reshaped this place, and today was ours, hers, mine, Macon's, a story of pain turned to purpose. For 22 to 44-year-olds who'd rallied behind #JusticeForEllison on X, this was a victory, but also a challenge. Could a community that broke us heal us? My path since that stop had soared to heights I never imagined. The Pentagon pinned a 4th star on my shoulder, making me the first black man in my branch to reach full general, a ceremony where my mother, 78, clutched Clara's photo, tears tracing her smile. As a Joint Chiefs member, I crafted policies bridging military rigor with civilian police reform, ensuring no soldier faced my ordeal. My YouTube series, Freedom's Road, now at 15 million views, shared stories of bias survivors, a mobile nurse, a Selma student. Each one a spark for 22 to 44-year-olds to demand change. Their comments flooded in, "Your voice saved my brother. Keep fighting, General." Macon's transformation, though, was my heart. The Clara Ellison Hub, funded by federal grants and a county vote inspired by Maya's viral mural, redefined justice. Its programs, crisis response teams, youth coding classes, a bias hotline, were lifelines. At the ribbon cutting, Maya, 18, handed me the scissors, her eyes fierce, for Clara. I cut the ribbon, my throat tight, whispering Clara's last words, "Keep marching, Marcus." The crowd's roar was a vow, a bridge across America's divides. Sheila Vaughan's arc was unexpected, yet essential. Released after 17 months of her 20-month sentence, she transformed in ways I hadn't foreseen. In prison, a restorative justice program made her face survivors, a black teen she'd stopped, a grandmother she'd searched. Their stories broke her defenses, and her second letter to me, now in my pocket, read, "I saw you as less than human, General. I'm trying to be better." She'd become a civilian instructor at Alabama's police academy, using her dash cam footage to show recruits how bias clouds judgment. Her classes, raw and honest, reached 600 officers, each one less likely to repeat her mistakes. At the Hub's dedication, she approached, gray in her hair, voice soft. "General Ellison, I don't expect forgiveness, but your fight changed me. I'm here to listen." I nodded, not absolving, but seeing. Her growth was for the next traveler on Route 82. For ex-users, Sheila's presence split hearts. Some cheered her change, others demanded more, but her quiet work, saving lives, asked them to weigh justice against grace. Captain Clara Boone, promoted from lieutenant, was the Hub's soul. Her mentorship program, pairing officers with black teens, grew into a statewide model. At a Hub workshop, I saw Jamal, 15, tell Boone, "I thought all cops were like Vaughn." Boone shared her story, mocked, sidelined, yet staying to reshape Macon. Her viral clip, "Change Starts Inside," inspired 22 to 44-year-olds to join oversight boards, their comments fierce, "She's our hero." Boone's theater project, where teens staged plays about stops, turned pain into power. Jamal's play, Mile Marker 82, ended with, "We're more than our skin," drawing tears. Boone faced threats from Vaughn's old allies, but her resolve, like Maya's mural, was Macon's new dawn. Daniel Holt's retirement was subdued, his legacy tainted. At a town hall, he'd admitted, "I failed Macon by ignoring bias." His black female successor from Mobile slashed black driver stops by 40% with data-driven policing. The Macon Unity Lab's Truth Quilt, stitching survivors' stories, toured Alabama, my patch beside a grandmother's, its #MaconTruth #trending. The Ellison Scholars Fund, from Freedom's Road proceeds, sent Maya to law school, her acceptance speech a Hub highlight, for Macon's future. The Hub's reach was vast. Alabama's Justice Transparency Act, now federal, exposed rural bias nationwide. The Ellison directives mandated police bias audits, adopted by state forces. At a White House summit, I said, "Justice isn't for generals, it's for Route 82's travelers." The president's task force hailed Macon's Hub as a blueprint. Locally, a gardening project, led by 1960s marchers, fed Macon's poor, their plots healing old wounds. I gardened with Miss Ruth, 82, her hand on mine, you finished our fight. Her words carried Clara's spirit, my mother's pride. Sheila's academy work reached new recruits, her nod at Jamal's play a small redemption. The hub's vigil, 1,000 candles along Route 82, closed the day. Maya lit the first, Boone the second, I the last, for Clara. Sheila lit one, her face open, a step toward amends. Reflecting on this journey, I see lessons carved in pain and hope. I learned dignity outlasts humiliation, my calm on Route 82, echoing my uncle's marches, turned a stop into a movement. I learned systems change when truth meets power, my stars opened doors, but Macon's choir, Maya's mural, Boone's courage walked through. I learned redemption is possible, not easy, Sheila's growth doesn't erase her harm, but it plants seeds. Most of all, I learned justice isn't mine alone, it's for the barber, the teen, the grandmother, whose stories fuel our fight. Standing here, Clara's name above me, I'm not the general cuffed on Route 82, I'm a soldier for a world where no one kneels. If you were in a similar situation, with elements like drama, society, racism, and power reversal, how would you approach it to achieve the best possible outcome? Would you fight with rage, strategize with calm, or build with hope? Your choice could light the next candle, not just for you, but for us all.